Myths and predictions about the next recession. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, I'm Florian Heise and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I've got my ice-cold stein of water today because it's a beautifully hot Sunday here in Brisbane. And I thought we would have a look at this article written by Andrew Woodward from news.com.au, Baby Boomer Myth about the next recession. Now, let me know in the comments if you can remember the last recession. Back in the 90s, the early 90s, late 80s, 90s there. My father and mother and I'm an only child. We were living in Victoria in the time. And my father was in the construction business. He had a building company and a drafting business. Drafting slowed down. So a lot of his draftees, his staff in the office, it was attached to our house, they had to work digging in the foundations. And I remember as a child I was worried because my parents were having fights over money and it was, I thought we were in dire straits. Years later I learned that my father was quite angry at my mother for spending an outrageous amount on an item of clothing on the credit card. So now I can completely, as a married man, I can completely appreciate where my father is coming from. Not that Rachel would do that. But nonetheless, it's funny how your perspective changes with time. So that's my last memories as a child of the recession that we had in the 90s, the recession Australia had to have. Then we moved to Queensland as a family. There's a different market for construction to Victoria. So let's have a look at the baby boomer myths about the next recession. Because guys, I'm not actually a boomer. I know a lot of you say I am, and I look it, but I'm not. So baby boomers love to talk about how young people will not survive the next recession, but they're ignoring something crucial at their peril. Okay. Baby boomers love to talk about the 1990s recession when mortgage rates shot up to 18% per annum and things were harder than young people of today could ever imagine. Well, yeah, 18% mortgage rates compared to what we have now. Recently, those same 55 to 75-year-olds have been talking a lot about the current world economic situation and how millennials, the generation 23 to 38, are really going to struggle if and when the economy heads into recession. So I'm technically a millennial then. Oh, bugger. We're born in the early 80s. We're kind of half-half. We don't have our whole childhood with memories of just being stuck to devices like this. We had a bit of a different childhood. Growing up in the 80s in Australia, we'd play out in the yard. One thing, because my father was a builder, he'd always have tools and timber lying around. We'd try and construct these big cubby houses. I remember trying to get a 90mm nail into hardwood as a kid. It was a lot of work. And if you missed and hit your finger, it's part of growing, part of development. And particularly if you hit the concrete and it bounced and hit you in the head. That's probably why I'm bald. That's probably why I'm bald. The commentary goes something like this. Millennial challenges. Since the global financial crisis of 2007 to 2008, millennials have struggled and are now more vulnerable than the older cohorts. As they head to middle age, that is a sobering prospect. They're failing to make it to the middle class and are likely to be the first generation in modern economic history to end up worse off than their parents. The next downturn, whenever it comes, might make certain of it, stalling wage growth just when they are entering their prime wealth building years. Well, wage growth, just wage predictions. I'll bring this chart up, guys. This is one of my new favorite ones, the RBA's repeated attempts at wage growth predictions. Well, yeah. I mean, our economy has been depressed. The growth of our economy has been depressed since the global financial crisis. Now, these are generalized statements, but that is the discussion going on. So economic factors to consider. So on top of the feeling that times are going to be tough during a recession for millennials, there are some economic factors that are also worth taking a peek at. Home ownership rates are declining by as much as 6% when today's younger generation is compared to Gen Xers and baby boomers, according to an Australian Bureau of Statistics studies. The average age of first home buyers is increasing and now exceeds age 34. The millennials are putting off saving and buying homes, as well as getting married and having babies, because of the rising cost of all of these major life activities. We've noticed this. We've just noticed that we're literally, Rachel is planning for the family Christmas down the Gold Coast, where all her brothers, sisters and cousins are all coming. And we're the only ones bringing kids. We're the only ones bringing kids. I know Rachel's a bit older than the other ones. And I'm saying, you know, when are the rest going to start pumping out kids so our children have someone to play with? They're going to be all so old they'll be stuck. They'll be babysitting the others. Which is, well, what Rachel's used to. But it just shows you. I mean, how many people do you know, in the millennial age bracket that are putting off getting married, putting off settling down, or married just staying single, not having kids? You know, it's the Tinder world where you can swipe. It's a different world. Well, you can understand, I mean, with the whole Me Too world that's going on, with just our legal system with regards to divorce, I can see why a lot of men are going, well, nope, I'm checking out, MGTOW for me, I'll go over here and not risk it. I can completely understand why that's growing, just the way the world is at the moment. And if you're not familiar with MGTOW or any of that, you know, have a look at a few YouTube videos. It might surprise you, actually. A recession that brings low or no wage growth, along with higher unemployment, will force millennials to wait even longer to start accumulating wealth. Waiting longer, of course, makes it harder to create that wealth because it gives the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest less time to work its magic. All the talk and data makes sense, right? But what if millennials are actually better prepared for what is to come than they are given credit for? I've been playing too much Far Cry 5, guys. So are the millennials preppers? Are they becoming economic preppers by not locking themselves down into too many onerous expenses? Is that the argument? The alternative view. Here are some thoughts for the counter-argument supporting the idea that millennials will be just fine when the recession comes. Millennials are more highly educated. A significant factor in why young people are getting married later in life is that they're better educated. There are more people going to school and university for longer, meaning they are putting off adult responsibilities for longer. The change of school leaving age. What? The change of school leaving age and the rapid growth in university student numbers in the last decade support this theory. The large HEX step they graduate with isn't much fun, but the better education will support them in the long run. Okay, that's interesting. It depends on what your education is. I know plenty of people I knew people who studied architecture ended up working at Bunnings. I knew people who studied industrial design, traveled all over to Europe and ended up not working in their field. I mean, university is good. It definitely broadens your education opportunities and your abilities to work. But it isn't the be-all, end-all. What about all these people doing arts degrees? What about all the people doing business degrees? The people who shouldn't be at university that are just going there. Remember, not everyone's doing STEM. There's a decline in that in Australia. So millennials don't have as many assets. This might seem a bit counterintuitive, but stick with me. Millennials weren't in a position to cash in when stocks were on sale after the GFC or when property prices collapsed over the past 5 years. But that may be a good thing. The fact that they don't have as many financial investments means they won't feel as much pain if stocks and property prices crash in a recession. Maybe they will actually be better positioned next time to take advantage of the recession. Yeah, well, it depends. If there's you've borrowed money to invest in that, we'll see. So who will be the first to go? Millennials are getting older. They aren't 25 anymore. By the time 2020 comes around, they will be entering their 40s. Yeah, let's not talk about that. I actually think, honestly, hitting 25 was the hardest for me. I'm not too worried about 40. I mean, 40, I've got a family, wife, kids, fine. 25, I was still at uni because I was doing architecture. It was such a long degree. It was 2 degrees. And I still had friends graduating, doing all this stuff. 25 was really tough for me. But I don't know, maybe 40 I'll justify it to buy a new toy. Won't tell Rachel, I'm having a midlife crisis. I need a new computer, or I need I need a new engine for the boat. I need to fix the boat. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Just stick around and we'll see. When it comes to a recession and possible downsizing, will it be the up-and-coming millennials with a smaller salary or the older person with a bloated salary who is first to go? Will the next recession be as bad? Interest rates for first home buyers are nowhere near where they were last time around. Governments are far more cautious in their policy decisions to avoid bringing a recession on. Just look at how long it has been since the last one for evidence. But is that a good thing? Is that a good thing? You know, you need to burn the detritus from the forest to allow new growth. We might well be there. After the GFC, the Banking Royal Commission and lending changes, the financial world won't be pushed to the precipice, perhaps. The X factor for millennials. Let's see what this is. All the above factors look reasonable, both for and against millennials. However, there is an X factor in the conversation. October's Australia Financial Review Young Rich List, which ranks the wealthiest Australians under 40, had a common factor. The dominance of tech-suave millennials is stark. Millennials have converted their tech suaviness into cash-generating machines. Tech is changing the world, changing how business is done, and changing the modern business landscape across the world. And it is making some insanely rich young people richer than ever before. Yes, that's an oddity. That doesn't speak to the majority. The names of companies that these millennials have created are a who's who of the modern tech world. Okay, cool. I mean, Afterpay, Sweat, Atlassian, Canva. Yeah, a few here in Australia, guys. Recessions happen. I mean, here we go. Genius here wants to ship all solar power over to Singapore. Let's see how that project goes. Recessions happen to all generations at some point in their working career. And based on the above, I think millennials are going to be just fine. Just like prior generations found a way to survive and grow their wealth, millennials will be no different. The difference is that millennials are already well versed in changing the landscape of the modern world. A recession isn't going to slow them down much, if at all. So Andrew Woodward is a Mindshift Money accredited money coach based in Sydney who teaches people to take control of their money and investment for the future simply and efficiently. So there you go. You can get his investor tips there. Interesting take on it by Andrew. What do you think, guys? What do you think? I think he's putting too much weight on a few unicorn businesses. You know, that's not going to affect everyone. Everyone can't start a huge tech business. Everyone can't code, guys. And Australia isn't really the country or the economy that, you know, that encourages that. Why do you think a lot of foreign companies list on the New York Stock Exchange to get funds or dual list? So yeah, let's see. Let's see how the next recession, which it's good to see that people are admitting is coming, will affect this generation. What do you think, guys? Are you a millennial? How are you preparing? Or are you a bit older? Do you have millennial children? Are you worried about them? How are they stacking up? Let us know in the comments, guys. Have a great day. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you enjoy my content and want to help me produce more, I do have a Patreon where you can make a donation. We have PayPal for a direct donation, and Amazon and eBay affiliate links where we receive a commission when you purchase something. It doesn't cost you a cent. Anyway, guys, have a great day, and I will see you later. Bye for now.